time we recorded this podcast, Sarah had overcome her initial cancer diagnosis and was in full remission. At the time of releasing it, I know from Sarah she just underwent a lung lobectomy for a very minor metastasis of her cancer. She approached that with the same attitude and mindset that she shares with us on this podcast, and is pleased to let me know it has been removed with no need for aggressive cancer treatments. Sarah did, however, 2 weeks after the surgery find herself in the emergency department and then in ICU for 3 weeks with Guillain-Barré syndrome. 2 months and 2 days later, she is now an outpatient in rehabilitation. She had to learn to walk again, and she has been completely paralysed from the GBS while in hospital. The doctors told her she would need 12 months to recover, and 3 months since her admission, she is already out of hospital and starting to thrive again. And this is a testament to some of her health and wellness strategies that she shares with us in this podcast. She's even teaching meditation again, and her courses are all sold out for the balance of 2024. I think you're going to love this episode as we chat to Sarah Susak. Welcome to Midlife Unraveled, the podcast that takes you on a journey through the twists and turns of midlife. I'm your host, Anita Gilbert, and I've transitioned from the corporate world of investment banking to become the proud owner of a yoga and Pilates studio. Together, we're going to navigate the exhilarating roller coaster that is midlife. Each episode, we dive deep with a seasoned expert to rediscover and redefine how to live our best during this life-changing period. Join us every Tuesday for new episodes, brimming with wisdom, insights, inspiration, and a laugh along the way. So strap in, because Midlife Unraveled is about to redefine the way you embrace midlife. Subscribe today and take this journey with us. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, so nice to see you.
I'm so pleased to welcome you to Midlife Unraveled. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you. It's like the perfect name. I was thinking when you told me Midlife Unravel, because that's pretty much what happened to me midlife. So we've got lots to talk about.
I know. I think we've all had an unraveling of sorts, and each in our own way. But
Yeah.
I love sharing people's stories, the challenges, the breakthroughs. And we learn so much from others that we bring these little nuggets of wisdom into our own lives.
Yeah.
Your challenges started just before midlife, and what a bolt out of the blue it was at a time when challenges of a new baby and most people are completely overwhelmed. I know I was.
I was.
You had a shocking health diagnosis to deal with as well. So Sarah, take us back. What was life like pre-baby, pre-health diagnosis?
Yeah, it's a really good question, because if I had answered it before I had the health diagnosis, which we can talk about, I would have said my life was perfect. I had great job, in great brands like Coca-Cola, Colgate. I had beautiful new husband, and I had just after millions of rounds of IVF had Stella, my little 7-year-old.
Aww.
And so by all intents and purposes, my life was perfect. But when I got the diagnosis, everything about what I thought was a good life changed. And there was, I actually wouldn't mind just telling you a little story about a question I asked. I asked this, when I got the diagnosis, I asked this spiritual guru that I went to a talk about, because I went to lots of those, like, why on earth did I get cancer? Why do bad things happen to good people? And he just like all good gurus do, he just sort of didn't say much except, tell me, has everything about your life since you got cancer changed? And I just sort of stopped, and I was like, oh my God, yes, everything about my life has changed. Like, how could I think that work stress, working till midnight every night, eating toxic food, not meditating, alcohol, smoking, all those things, how did I think that they were not going to bring me some kind of pain? And so when I look back now, I just think life was good, but it wasn't the right way to live, if that makes sense. So it was a positive in that sense.
But it wasn't seeing the cancer as a punishment for doing those things.
No, it wasn't a punishment, but I truly found, a lot of people said that's a really harsh answer that he gave you. And I didn't think that. I found it very empowering, because if I was just to accept that I got a cancer diagnosis as a result of bad luck or genetics or something outside of my control, that would have been really depressing to me. Whereas if it was because of lifestyle choices that I had made or things that I could, then that means I had the power to change it and to prevent it from coming back. Does that make sense?
That is a very positive way of looking at it, I feel,
Yeah.
and a very empowering way, particularly at a
Yeah.
time where you're probably feeling so incredibly vulnerable. And
Totally.
as a victim of this dreadful thing that's happened, actually, that's very empowering and actually gives you the opportunity to, to take control.
Exactly. That was how I thought. How I got there, I'll never know. But
Yeah.
that was after at first I was confronted. I was like, what are you saying? It's my fault kind of thing. But then when I really thought about it and the more study I did about what causes cancer, I realized actually I've got to take some personal responsibility, and that's okay because that means I can prevent it from coming back.
Yeah. So tell us, Sarah, what was your health diagnosis? What was the cancer?
Yeah, it was a curly one. I just had Stella. She was only 1.5 maybe. And as I said, we'd been through like 8 rounds of IVF. So it had been this huge, we were so happy. We thought this is it. We got our little miracle.
Yeah.
And she is a miracle. But I just got a pain neuralgia in my face. It was diagnosed as pain neuralgia incorrectly, but my husband actually kissed me, Helen, Helen from good old Pilates. But
we love
and
him.
I got an electric shock in my face. And I joke that, I knew we had chemistry, but this was like just intense.
Yeah.
It was a full-on electric shock. But that took us to the doctors. We got the wrong diagnosis and it never got better. And so then we did biopsies and it got diagnosed as a very rare head and neck cancer called adenoid cystic carcinoma.
Wow. Okay.
And the troubling thing about it was that it was attached to nerves in my face and leading to my brain. So it was very urgent. So it was a very, you need to address this now. So it was very quick, unraveling to how do we set up life. The doctor that I had to go and get the surgery from was in Brisbane and I'm in Sydney. So we had to leave Stella. I had to leave Stella and I was living over there for about 6 months with mum or hubby.
So I might just get you to stop and we'll just go back a little bit. It cut out, I think.
That's okay.
So we'll cut this bit out.
Yeah.
But so go back to after you got the diagnosis of the rare form of cancer.
Yeah, so got this diagnosis of, rare head and neck cancer. The doctor that gave me the diagnosis was pretty brutal. He said, you've got adenoid cystic carcinoma. We can do surgery and give you some treatment and it might go, but it will metastasize in your body within 5 years and you'll die. I'm not kidding. It was so... I'll never, ever forget the moment.
Bedside manner, not.
Not. I mean, I don't see him anymore. But, I mean, that's just the way doctors are. But I was just like, no, I just stood up and walked out. So,
and how advanced was the cancer when they found it?
They didn't really tell me, like, what stage. They just said it has to come out immediately. So we had to literally, within a week, I had left my job as a general counsel. I'd organised to move to Brisbane where the surgeon that could operate on this kind of tumour was located. And mum and my husband just kind of oscillated. We got an apartment there and Stella stayed here with my sister and other family members. So that was tough. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And how did that affect you mentally? I mean, that's just a bolt out of the blue. You're just trying to deal with having a new baby. You're obviously juggling, looking at getting back to work. And then you get this diagnosis. How did that affect you mentally?
Oh, the moment that we had the diagnosis, I remember Helen and I, my husband, I walked out, I stormed out and I left my mum in the room to take the bad news. But I remember we went into the hallway of the surgery and it seems like a really odd reaction, but I just I just asked him if he would dance. So and it's so weird because Helen doesn't dance, but we just started to dance. And I describe it to people as like, in that dance kind of lay my freedom. Like he had given me a diagnosis, but I was not going to accept the prognosis. And I had the freedom to choose what my story and my ending was going to be here. And I pretty quickly moved into that place of accepting the diagnosis, but rejecting entirely the prognosis and was devastated, don't get me wrong, but the move for me towards action, like instead of why me, I moved very quickly to what now, like what action can I take
Okay.
to prevent this from killing me, essentially. And I was shitting. I was so
Yeah.
nervous and so
Yeah.
scared. I had major anxiety, but I was also very determined to not um, let it get me.
How did you deal with that anxiety? Did you do something in particular to try and ease that?
Yeah, no, I've had anxiety my whole life, and it's been quite a trouble in my life, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things, and I guess, you talk about what's changed since cancer. Cancer, just randomly on the day that I got the diagnosis, I reached out to somebody on Instagram that I didn't even know. And he was a Vedic meditator, and he was very involved in the Ayurvedic health space. So
Yeah.
Ayurveda is, known as the science of life. And, there's a whole set of holistic treatments that go with, attacking cancer. And
Mhm.
I kind of quickly, I just was looking for so many solutions that's how my anxiety kind of got to bay. I
Yeah.
read books, I listened to podcasts, I did meditations, I looked for every single spiritual or health and wellness guru that might have an answer for me. And I just did research. I just researched and researched and researched. And then
Yeah.
from that, I got so many leads into the life that I have now and the
Yeah.
business that I've just set up, which we can talk about later. But
Yeah.
yeah, definitely holistic herbs, meditation, and those sorts of things were a huge part of managing my anxiety.
And that went alongside the conventional treatments that you undertook, the chemo
Yeah,
and radiation and things like that.
yeah, 100%. Like it was a little bit of a battle in a way with Western doctors who have a really fixed and limited mindset around what you have to do in order to, beat this cancer. And then you have all these
Yeah.
other sort of, wellness and holistic practitioners that tell you a different thing. And so finding the balance between using both to my advantage was a mission because, everybody
Yeah.
in your life, your family, they just want you to just do all the radiation, do all the surgery, just whatever, just get rid
Yeah.
of it. And you're
Yeah.
trying to, okay, hold up. There's this whole other way. And I did a lot of, actually, this is probably a really good thing for listeners to your podcast to look up if they're interested. But there was this
Yeah.
beautiful, I remember now, I call him like a spiritual scientist, but he's this doctor called Dr. Joe Dispenza. Have you heard of him?
I have actually. Yeah.
And I actually used his meditations to start with to change
Yeah.
and rewire my brain and the way that I was thinking about this issue. Like, I'm going to die, I'm going to die, I'm going to die. I had to immediately eradicate those thoughts and replace them with thoughts that were going to, lead me towards wellness as opposed to this crushing ending. So I did use
Yeah,
a lot of,
absolutely.
the power of the mind and the placebo effect and things like that, just like if you take a placebo pill in a, and you're not getting any benefit and people go into remission even though they've taken a placebo. I kind of tried to play on that concept of if
Yeah.
I believe wholeheartedly and have faith wholeheartedly and I'm in total coherence between my heart and my brain on what's going to happen, that I can change the outcome with my mind and with my thoughts. And I got really deep into that
Absolutely.
at the time. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever push back on anything that the typical sort of Western medicine doctors were telling you to do?
I didn't because I was so desperate. In hindsight,
Yeah.
I would have. For
Yeah.
example, the radiation, like it was brutal to my body. My Ayurvedic doctors tell me now that, and I know I do have radiation poisoning in my body. The toxicity of it is so intense. Had
Yeah.
I known the impact that was going to have on my life, I've had so many other health side effects that have come, like, and you guys
Yeah.
know a little bit about some of them, the nerve pain in my
Yeah.
face. I've had osteoradionecrosis where, the bone that they put into my face to replace my jaw from my leg, they radiated that and then that killed the bone. So now I can't get implants to get new teeth because the bone will crush. Now, had I known all this, I might have looked into other forms of treatment or other solutions before, but
Yeah.
I just try not to live like that because I've survived and,
Yeah.
I'm doing okay. So I try not to have too much regret.
No, and you can't. The thing is, you can't go back and change it. And
No.
you made the best decisions with all the information that you had at the time. And
Yeah.
I think it's very difficult to go and say to the doctors, "No, I'm not going to do this." It's like
It's so
you
hard.
you take their advice and you listen to what they say and go ahead with
Yeah.
that. So,
Yeah.
it sounds like you had the perfect marriage, the perfect complement of doing all
Yeah.
the things the Western doctors were telling you, but also supporting yourself mentally
Yeah.
to deal with the physical load that you were
Yeah.
experiencing,
Yeah,
which must
definitely.
have been just devastating. How did you keep positive?
Oh gosh, I am by my nature positive. So it wasn't like I had to
Yeah.
find that part of myself or, I've always been a glass half full. So, but I truly believe like one of the biggest blessings that I had that helped me stay positive was community. And I'm a big believer in community. It's why I love your Flex Body so much because you're just steeped in community as the foundation for why you exist. That's why you resonated so
Yeah.
much with me. But community,
Yeah.
like I would have been unable to go through what I went through without friends, family, work colleagues, doctors, health practitioners, everyone. That's what helped me stay positive because they lift your spirits and they give you a reason to keep going. And of course, Stella, like my daughter, like
Oh,
looking at her was like the reason.
that's all the reason you need, isn't
It's
it?
all the reason because I didn't want her to be traumatized by seeing her mum. She's pretty traumatized now by like lack of teeth, but other than that, she's pretty stable because she didn't see any heartbreak or fear, which
Yeah.
makes me happy.
How would you describe your role as a parent while you're trying to go through all these things? And Stella would have been what, 2.5.
Yeah,
That's a hard age, as we know as parents. That's a really hard age for any parent to go through. They're a toddler, they're pushing the boundaries, and you're trying to manage parenting as well as going through this huge journey yourself. How did you manage that?
yeah. Well, again, with the help of my family, but
Yeah,
also just with the knowledge that this is my opportunity to be the lighthouse for her, to be the exemplar, and to show her that when a challenge comes, you need to be resilient. Because to me, like, having gone through certain things in my life, that is the superpower that we all need to have.
yeah,
Like, we need to have resilience. So I thought I need to model that for her to learn it because you can't tell somebody you have to be resilient and you have to show them. And so for
that's exactly
me,
right.
yeah, it was like a little opportunity for me to, be the best parent I can be. And to be honest, it kept me out of my own head because I thought this isn't just about me. This is about Stella. So I think that was
Yeah,
that was how, just using it as an example to teach her something important in life. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, that's amazing. So how do you feel now looking back on that period? What are the things that in your mind have changed? Has it changed the way you see the world? Has it changed the way you
Yeah.
see parenting, the way you see work? What's shifted?
So much. Like, I would say I've got so much to say on this one, but because everything has
Yeah,
changed, but it gives you like a dose of serious perspective. So now when I'm at work, I still give it my all. I love my job. I'm so committed to it and I'm so dedicated to it. But I have a greater sense of like balance and sense of importance. And luckily, I work at a
yeah,
place where the culture is exactly the same. Like our boss always says, we're not curing cancer, we're not, saving the world, we're making food, which is important, but it's not the most
important.
important thing,
Yes.
right? So, my approach to work life balance and stress, I used to work 24 hours a day into the night, calls at 1 a.m. I don't do that anymore. The concept of health, like how people say, oh, you're nothing without your health. We say
Yeah,
it, right, but it's kind of glib. I know firsthand now that if I do not have that health, I have absolutely nothing. And so for me, that whole body is my temple, and everything I do, like in terms of what I put in it, what I put on it, food, products, etc., all of that has changed quite
yeah,
significantly, because truly you have to not wait for the wrecking ball. Like, don't wait. If I could say anything to anyone about getting cancer, it's don't wait for the wrecking ball. Take all the preventative steps that you can take now to reduce the chances of that happening. There was actually, when I speak, ideas come into my head, so forgive me, but there was this amazing... I'm like, there was this amazing book I read by Dr. Kelly Turner, and it was called Radical Remission, and she did this global study of all the people around the world. It was peer-reviewed. It was a proper scientific study that had gone into remission after having been told they had terminal cancer. And she documented the top 8 commonalities between those people as to how they went into remission, because they all went into remission. And I expected to see on there some of the Western stuff we've talked about, like surgery and radiation, but none of that was on there. It was sleep. It was, food. It was exercise. It was meditation. It was community. Community was on there. So people with community had a higher chance of remission.
It's that support structure, isn't it?
We're nothing without each other. It's like we're relational human beings. And I don't think, it's a privilege in a way, because not everybody has access to a communities. But if you do, you're very lucky, because it can make the difference. But that book was a game changer for me in all of the different things that I changed about my life after I got cancer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. It's amazing how community really is that cornerstone of so much. It's come out in so many studies about well-being, about our health and wellness generally, about having that support network around you, having contact with people, having interaction with people. And then when things do go wrong, you've got that safety net, you've got that support structure, people there to support you. Like you said, you had, you not only you had your family around you, but you had friends, you had colleagues, you had people from work who were all invested in your well-being. And that's such a beautiful place to be, because I feel like it then empowers you, gives you the confidence to say, no, I can deal with this and I can get on, because I have this little team around me to support me.
Yeah, it is so true. I don't know if I ever told you this, but I volunteered for 20 plus years and then served on their board at an organisation in Sydney called the Wayside Chapel. And they're a really famous charity a really iconic charity rather, in King's Cross. And they look after people that, have fallen by the wayside, people living on the street, people with mental health issues. And their mission was to create community with no us and them. And so that mission has been within my DNA from the time that I started at Wayside, which was when I was, in university. And people used to always ask me, because I had a lot of homeless friends, I still do, but that, what's the difference between a person that falls by the wayside and a person that's, can get through the trauma, whether it's sexual abuse or domestic violence? Like, why do some people go onto the street and others don't? And my answer is always the same: community. Like, if you have that support network, then you have a real chance of survival. Whereas if you don't, it truly lowers your chance. So whatever opportunity people have to join communities, form communities, be part of a community, we should take it.
Yeah, and it's just about seeking out those like-minded people. So people that you have something in common with. You've got that instant connection, whatever happens to be, whether your commonality is reading or it's sport or it's exercise, whatever it happens to be, but to have that common ground. And then you've got that instant connection, you've got something to build on. So So talk to me about your meditation now. I'm fascinated.
Oh, my goodness, my new passion. And it's so weird because I've been involved in community service for so long, and I haven't done it for the last 3 years. And the reason that I haven't done that is because meditation is now my version of community service. Well, I'm hoping that it is. I've started, you would have seen, my own business in addition to my full-time job, and it's called MediSteady Go. I've been studying.
It's a great name.
I know. Well, it describes exactly. There's this beautiful quote that comes out of one of the, I think it's the Bhagavad Gita, and I can't say it in Sanskrit now because I'll get it wrong and embarrass myself, but it means, translated, established in being, perform action. And so the idea is that once you've established yourself in that really calm state, don't just sit there and live in the cave, take it out into the world and take action. from that state, right? Not in the state of
Yeah.
chaos and stress and hyperactivity that most of us humans feel like we're in almost all of the day, more in that calm,
Exactly.
centered state, because then you're going to contribute, to the collective in a really positive way. So that was the kind of motivation behind Medi Steady Go. The idea is that I will teach people to meditate twice daily, help them steady themselves in this kind of chaotic world that we live in, but then also go back out into the world in that state and do better, feel better, contribute better.
That's so good. So how do you manage that as a full-time lawyer and now as a meditation coach? I would, for anybody looking from the outside, meditation teacher, lawyer, could be quite different.
Does it? It doesn't match.
It doesn't really match. But you know what? You're bringing that connection.
Yeah.
You're connecting those two worlds.
Oh, 100%. And I've actually had a few people that have reached out to me about it. I offer a free introductory talk for anyone that wants to learn more, and you can share that with your listeners. But the people that I've spoken to so far have said one of the reasons that they want to learn with me, because there's lots of Vedic meditation teachers out there and they're all beautiful, but they said, we feel like you will understand our life, which I do, because you're a full-time working mum who's been through some major shit like the rest of us. I'm not Robinson Crusoe, but they feel like I'm not going to suggest things to them, or I'll guide them through how to integrate meditation into their life in a practical way. And that's the point of differentiation that I hope to offer as a teacher. So I'm super excited about teaching.
And what's the difference between, you talk about Vedic meditation, how is that different from what people know conventionally as meditation?
It is probably one of the most effective techniques that I've learned, and I've tried lots of different techniques of meditation, but there's lots of types, but if I had to say the 4 key types, there would be concentration meditation, like focusing on your breath, looking at a candle, but all of that requires you to focus your mind. So if you're somebody with attention, that's not good, or disorders, or inability to focus or concentrate, like most people that come to meditate that's not going to feel very comfortable. Like, you have to focus on something, and you're still using your mind, and you're still
it's very
activating.
hard to switch off your mind and
100%.
say, I'm going to focus on this, when you've got the mind is racing about all the things you have to do. You haven't done this, the shopping list, everything.
It's super uncomfortable, right? Like, and then there's like chanting or like mantra meditation, but again, that has some kind of like verbal or visual stimulation. But Vedic meditation, you get given a mantra. It's got no meaning. It's a primordial sound that's been cognized by masters thousands and thousands of years before us, but handed down in this beautiful tradition. And the idea is that you repeat that mantra in your head silently and effortlessly until that mantra disappears. And you'll oscillate in this meditation between mantra and thought, but eventually the mantra, which essentially means mind vehicle, gives you a vehicle to transcend your thought, to transcend your all of the form and phenomena in your body outside of yourself, and access a much deeper part of yourself to go into a place of extreme stillness and extreme peace. And it's just very easy, and it doesn't require any effort. It doesn't require any focus. Close your eyes, think of a sound, and let it go. That's pretty much
any
what
sound,
it is.
or does everybody get their own unique sound? Does everybody
get your own
sound?
Yeah, you get given your personal mantra, and those mantras have been handed down like since the beginning of this technique, because this technique was originated and birthed from a body of extremely beautiful wisdom called the Vedas, and Veda in Sanskrit means knowledge. And so I've been studying those scriptures and all of that literature for the last 3 years. But that's where the mantras, they've been passed down. The way that I've been taught is the same way that was taught 6,000 years ago. It was handed down through masters. So I'm in this beautiful lineage of teachers, and now hopefully I can pass it on to more people.
Fantastic. And how are you passing it on?
Yes. So I'm going to, you mean in terms of the business and what my offerings are? Yeah. So I'm going to be doing monthly group Vedic meditation courses. but I'm also going to do one-on-one teaching. So some people don't like learning in groups, and I get that.
Yeah.
So I'm super happy to do one-on-one if people want to do it that way. I prefer to do it in person because I think that we can really go deep. But the course is like a mixture between prac and theory. So I don't just give you a technique and give you a mechanical process and teach you how to do it. I'm also going to share and do a couple of sessions to dive deep into the Vedic knowledge and the Vedic philosophy from which the technique was born, just so that people have a little bit of life wisdom that comes out of it as well.
Yeah. And I feel like we question a lot of things these days, and I feel like to understand why you're being taught something and how it fits into its history, it also gives a lot of credibility, I feel, too, when people are taking on something new. I know a lot of people do say they struggle with meditation. I can't sit still. I have to make my mind go blank. But sounds like a perfect way that you can actually integrate into that into your everyday while you're working full time, you're running around after the kids,
Absolutely.
You've got everything else that life gives us, but you also have that little opportunity, that little nugget of time that you can take for yourself.
Yeah, it's so funny because that's the most common resistance to meditation. I don't have time. 20 minutes twice a day, are you crazy kind of vibe. And I thought the exact same thing when they told me I was like a full-time high alpha female do Barbie action doll, essentially. And that's what I was like when I started to meditate. And now, I realized, I guess the best way for me to describe it would be like I think of it from an opportunity cost point of view. Like, what do I stand to lose if I don't do this, and the peace and the joy and the bliss and the calm with which I'm able to approach the same life. It's not like my life has changed. I still have a full-time job. I'm still a full-time mum, but I'm able to do it now with more, just more happiness, more calm. But you can find the time. We spend an hour a day scrolling on Instagram. We watch Netflix. There's lots of 20-minute blocks in a day.
Yeah. I feel like you can. I feel like if there's something you really want to do, you will make time for it.
100%.
It's more about prioritizing it rather than, rather than thinking, well, I have to do it. Well, schedule it in, prioritize it. And if it becomes important enough for you, you'll say, no to other things or perhaps shuffle other things around.
I totally agree. And I always say that to people is like meditation is not something that you can intellectually explain to somebody. They have to experience it. Once they experience it, they will be running to the meditation room because the bliss that you feel when you're in that space, you're 20 minutes on your own. Are you kidding me? I'm going to that room. You don't have to convince me twice. It's like now it's like
not exactly being dragged there kicking and screaming, is it?
No, like when people say to me, like, hello, it's 20 minutes on your own in stillness without anyone barking at you or telling you to do something. Just for that, that's a reason to go into the room. But there's a whole lot more that you'll experience that will take you back there time and time again. I've not missed a meditation now for almost 7 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm telling the truth.
Talk to me about working as a lawyer after all your treatment, and obviously having all your experience with meditation, and then you went back into law. How did that feel?
I have always, if I'm really honest, felt a little bit like I've got a split personality when it comes to my career. And I say this to my boss even at work, that there's this side of me that's like super ambitious, super intellectual, loves a good challenge, loves a problem to solve. But then there's this really spiritual, community-based person, and I need to satisfy both parts of my personality in order to be happy. So my employers have always just known that about me, and they can see that in me. So, I've never really struggled being in that environment because I like that environment too for that side of my personality. And I always make time. It's like non-negotiable. Like, and if an employer didn't like that side of me or didn't nurture that side of me or allow me to pursue that side of me, I wouldn't stay with that employer. Like it's as simple as that for me because
there would be a disconnect there.
It would be a disconnect. So my employer's values and my values are so well aligned that it just kind of works. But I definitely have noticed a complete difference in when I'm in a meeting. Sometimes inside my body I chuckle because I'm like, why is everybody so stressed about this? It's really not that important. And it's not an arrogance, like, but it's just more, oh gosh, like we just tie ourselves and our bodies up in knots and we make ourselves sick. Like, 95% of all disease comes from stress. And so that's what I would say is the biggest change. I will not allow myself to be stressed by my work ever again. No one should.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's very, very good advice, actually.
Yeah.
So what does the future look like for you, Sarah?
Gosh, I'm staying in the present moment, Anita. I don't think about the future. No, I'm only joking. I've got it all mapped out. Don't you worry. No, look, I'm
sure you have.
I'm still the same personality. I'm going to focus a lot on this business. I'm going to get Ready, Steady, Go going. I've got a book, which I've told you about, that I'm in the process of editing, and I'm going to self-publish that and release that to the world in 2024. That's a promise.
Fantastic.
If I say it out loud in a public forum, it means I have to do it.
Absolutely. So, and what's the book called?
Can I tell? I haven't told anyone that, but I'll tell you now.
Oh, tell us.
Yeah, you'll be the first to know. It's called Uru. There's a word in Sanskrit called, I will have to. It's the word guru in Sanskrit actually means remover of darkness. And so the book title is meant to kind of explain that you are really the only person that has the ability to remove darkness from your life. And so I tell the stories of all the gurus outside of me that I have given away my power to through my life, whether that's, guru job, guru partner, guru parents, like these external people, ideas or phenomena that I've relied on for my own sense of personal fulfillment, until I found meditation and went within and realize that really it's only me that has and holds all the power to change my life in a positive way. And to rely on anything outside of yourself significantly reduces your level of self-sufficiency. And that's what the book is about. So I share my own story through all the gurus right up to Uru, in a hope that, people take some kind of wisdom and positive impact on their lives from those stories.
I love that, because I feel like at this midlife as a time, then a lot of us can feel that we're losing our power, we're losing our impact maybe in the workplace, we're losing our impact. Kids are not needing us anymore, maybe they're getting older, they're leaving home. And that sense of power and control and purpose can dissolve around us. So I feel that this is empowering and just confidence building in so many ways.
Yeah, it just kind of helps reduce that fragility that we have for suffering when something is taken away from us. Like if you live your life in dependence of things outside of yourself to bring you happiness, it's a recipe for disaster. It's okay to love things and be invested in things, but to be attached to them to the point that if they were removed from your life, you would no longer be fulfilled. That's a danger, And so the book kind of talks through all of the lessons I've learned from those kinds of reliances and how much happier I feel knowing that no one can take my sense of self away from me, no matter what happens. And the portal to that part of yourself for me is through meditation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Oh, what a great chat. It's been so interesting listening to your story, Sarah. Thank you so much for sharing it.
It's my pleasure.
Can you let people know where they can find you?
Yes, I have a website, www.sarahsusak.com. You can subscribe there to my blog. I write a blog, some fun pieces about life.
Which is fabulous, by the way.
Oh, good. Thank you. Glad you enjoy it. And you can also find my Ready, Steady, Go business on there, my blog, information about my book. So it's all on that website. And of course, I'm on Instagram, much to my dismay, Sarah_Susak, and LinkedIn as well. So yeah, find me on any of those and I'd love to connect.
You are a treasure. What
so
a delight!
Are you.
And how fascinating to have shared your story, so we can actually all. It's so interesting, I think, to listen to other people's stories. We learn from that. Every little nugget of information we take and put into ourselves, and we can learn so much from that. It's beautiful.
No. Oh, that's awesome! Thanks for having me. It's so nice.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, I'm thrilled to do it with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please like, share and subscribe so you can stay updated with more from Midlife Unraveled. To see more Midlife Unraveled, follow us at midlifeunraveled.com or at Midlife Unraveled on Facebook and Instagram. We'll see you soon.